So this is nothing short of 18 bottles of wine, all from the Finger Lakes. If I could pick a word to describe the Finger Lakes, I would describe it as acid. There is a lot of acidity to the wines there, and I don't say that in a negative way. It's a positive thing. It's definitely a cooler wine growing region, and there's definitely some gems out there, some really great wineries, some a little tourist trappy, some absolutely making some great stuff. Even some reds were surprisingly good. Not that I thought they wouldn't be, but it's definitely more Riesling country, more white wine country. Definitely some sparklers are doing really well up there. Very acidic, like razor sharp acidity on some of these. I wanted to find a sparkling Riesling that I really liked. None of them really were good enough to purchase. They were fine, just not good enough to purchase. Something had to be a little bit special to purchase. So in no particular order, they're just going to be from left to right here. I was going to talk about a wine, sort of keep this as a memoir of some of the wines that were tried. We tasted about 100 wines or so over 3 days, purchased around 20. So not bad in the grand scheme of things. So I'll start with Herman J. Weimer's. This is a Cuvée Brut 2016. They use the champagne method, which means second fermentation is done in the bottle to add more complexity. This has got a vintage of 2016 and it was just disgorged in 2022. So 6 years worth of this wine aging on its lees, on its yeast. And it is 65% Chardonnay, 35% Pinot Noir. I wanted to try, they didn't have all their sparklers for taste, so we just bought the one that made the most sense and was probably the most, from what they said, champagne-esque, with a little yeasty and acidity. We shall see how that one is. This one, really excited about, and I could try to go through the price. I don't know if I remember all the prices, but I think that one was, let's say, $35. This is Lamoureux Landings Blanc de Blanc, so 100% Chardonnay, 2006, and this just got disgorged, I think. So this has got a lot of years on it. I'm pretty sure it was laying in its lease for a long time. $75. Probably the most expensive wine purchased, but I thought it was something very unique. I didn't expect to see somebody allowing a sparkler up in that region to just sit that long before they disgorged it. So really cool. And didn't try this either, so it'll be fun to try that eventually. And just doing a little theme here on sparklers here. So Heart and Hands 2013 Blanc de Noir. So this is 100% Pinot. Yes, 100% Pinot. So this was on its lees for 7 years, 5 months, and 13 days. And it was disgorged a year ago. So this has got a good amount of age on it too. We did taste this one. This was fantastic. Fantastic champagne. Super razor sharp acidity. Like I said, acidity was like the name of a common theme of the Finger Lakes for sure. And try to do those on their own. So I thought there'd be a lot of possibly great Pinot Noir, but there wasn't. But there was one, and Mokushla Gaelic 2018 Mokushla, about $45 or $50. This is a Pinot Noir, and this was the best Pinot Noir tasted up there. Fantastic. I think with a decant, really, like, I'm almost craving this Pinot Noir because I just thought it was so good. It was lean and minerally and kind of had a Burgundian-esque thing going, a dusty cherry. It was really good. Definitely the best by far of the Pinot Noirs we tasted. We did taste a whole heck of a lot. Seems like a lot of those folks up there at Finger Lakes aren't doing too much Pinot Noir. I thought that was interesting because I figured maybe they would, as hot as Pinot Noir is. Plus, it's a cool climate up there, but not the case, at least from the wineries visited. Talk about all these in a group. Ravines, just got one wine from Ravines, and we tried their dry Riesling, and it was pretty good. So they had a library selection of 2009. So this is their 2009 dry Riesling, so a bunch of years on this one. Hopefully it's as good as the current vintage was, or actually a lot better. And took a shot. This was actually $57, a very expensive one, library selection. The wines were from affordable to definitely some pricier than you might expect, but you own a winery, you gotta do what you gotta do. Probably the best Riesling. This was from Herman J. Weimer. So Herman J. Weimer, this is Biodynamic Riesling 2019. This absolutely can sit down for a while. This was the most complex single vineyard Riesling we had tried, and it was fantastic. I forget the price on this, probably 40s, but it was absolutely fantastic. Razor sharp acidity, but a lot of character. Not overly what I would call rubber ball, but more on the flinty and sort of like Alsatian type of Riesling. That's the best way I could put it. But anyway, it was fantastic. Another sparkler, so Constantin Frank, Dr. Constantin Frank, one of the oldest wineries up there, 2017 Blanc de Blanc. So this was their sparkler, and it was just a really good sparkler. The Scourge 2021, so this didn't really rest too long, so, but it just was a good one. Good acidity, good body, just tasted good, had a creaminess to it. Worth buying. Lamoureux Vineyard again. Lamoureux Landing. This was their single vineyard Riesling. They had 3 or 4. This was their best one, called Yellow Dog. No specific reason for the name. Just had a good character. Was the best one of the bunch by a long shot. The driest too. They had the least amount of RS. Very little residual sugar in here. You could barely even tell. Probably wouldn't even be able to tell. So, current vintage 2019. And this was, looking for the, it's the winery on this one. So it's single wheel. Pretty sure this was from Hosmer. 2018 Riesling. I think it was Hosmer. Yes, Hosmer Winery. So single vineyard Riesling. This was very, very good, and purchased this as well. Don't remember a whole heck of a lot about the differences between them, but definitely certainly got some Rieslings, as it is Riesling country. Common theme you might see now. So this was from Herman J. Weimer. This was their Flower Day single vineyard Riesling. Again, really good one. Their second best one, HJW Biodynamic, was the best one. Hosmer had a great Sauvignon Blanc, so purchased. It was a great Sauvignon Blanc, super fresh, not overly fresh. Just had a lot of character, and not overly grapefruity, not overly, a little bit, what was it? It was like peachy and a little grassy, but not overly grapefruity. So not too close to New Zealand, but sort of a very good restrained version of a Sauvignon Blanc. Definitely a great summer wine that would go great with sushi for sure, or white fish. Hosmer 2020 limited, so they had another Riesling, their standard Riesling, limited release. This was fantastic. This was probably, from what I remember, and not because of the alcohol, it's 12.5% alcohol. It had had a big mouth feel, and I think they said they picked these grapes later, and not that they were riper, but they let them hang a little longer, and it kind of had a more viscosity to this Riesling, if I remember this one correctly. It was really good. So a bunch of Rieslings, obviously. I think there's another one here. Constantin Frank. This was their best single vineyard at Constantin Frank. Eviania, single vineyard. This was by far their best one as well. So, and a lot of low alcohol, 12 to 13%. You're talking 12 and a half really on these Rieslings. So, this was at Constantin Frank. Now, this is probably, they said this is the oldest grape varietal in the world, and I will not pronounce it correctly, but didn't really like it. It was very, very floral. Now, not this bottling of it, because why would I have bought that? But this was the orange wine version of what we tasted. So we took a shot in the dark, said, hey, let's buy this one. It was about $50 for an orange wine out of the Finger Lakes. They said it was pretty cool, pretty funky. I'm a little nervous that the base was pretty floral. I'm hoping the funkiness adds a little bit more character to it and some more body to it. We shall see. But it was extremely floral as their baseline. The last 4 were all from Sheldrake, where we did a tasting, a library tasting of all aged wines. I think like 20 of them. It was amazing. The standouts were these 4. Well, there was more than just these 4 bottles. I bought 2 of the same one. This was by far the best aged white. It was a 2001 Waterfall Chardonnay, Sheldrake. It was amazing. So I got 2 of them. They were only like $30-something, I think. They were fantastic. They were awesome. That aged white wine character. They had some aged Rieslings too, just none of them were as good as this. So we were just really trying to be a little bit more cognizant of how many bottles we were bringing back. So things that were only sort of special. And then for reds, and this was the big surprise from Sheldrake, we bought a 2007 Cabernet Sauvignon. This wine, yes, the tannins were a little lower level. The body was a little less. Some of the fruit was gone, some tertiary, but unbelievably good. This was fantastic. Tasted great in the tasting, so purchased this one, as well as a 2009 Merlot from the same place. They also had a 2009 Cab Franc, which was awesome. Probably should have retasted all 3 to see which one were the best. I think the Cab Sauv was. The Merlot and Cab Franc, I can't remember which one was better. They were both fantastic. There was also a 2012 Meritage that was awesome. Just chose these 4. Their standard current release wines were fine, but these were the standouts from that library section, which were amazing. These were really well aged. They did a great job at picking through the ones from the library, testing them, tasting them, dumping the ones that were no good, and keeping the ones that were awesome, putting them in this tasting, this reserve library tasting. The only place up there that we saw that did that, and it was well worth it and amazing, and something to do again. They had some amazing, also aged ice wine. They had the best ice wine that we had in the Finger Lakes, but it was aged and it was expensive. The bottles that we loved, I specifically loved, were about $150. I couldn't really justify the cost of $150 for a dessert wine. They don't really drink that often, although it was amazing, and I think it was like an 04. God, it was awesome. The best ice wine I've probably ever had. And then again, I've never had an ice wine that was that aged. It had the acidity, it wasn't cloying, it had the sweetness. Just awesome. Just awesome. But anyway, that's all the wines. Not too bad. 12 minutes to go through all of them. These reds will be drank sooner than later. These whites, these 4 aged wines will be drank sooner than later. Can't wait to try the Pinot. Can't wait to try some of the sparklers. So, Rieslings are awesome. Some of them, the Rieslings are awesome. I want to say to myself, I want to age some of them, but just for a lack of space, unless I get like another wine fridge, it's going to be a little bit problematic. Had a honey wine over the last 2 days. It was great. The Brut X, fantastic, from Divine. Looking forward to my next shipment. Very quaffable, easy to drink, but complex honey wine. Really like it. I have another unboxing from Obsidian. I'll do it this weekend, and Scarecrow wines have been shipped. So I actually got the Scarecrow wines. I'll do a video on that, talk a little bit about Scarecrow in the future. But for the Finger Lakes, definitely some wineries on the list to visit if and when go up again. And great experience, great wines up there. Everybody was extremely nice, very hospitable to come in, taste their wines. You know, oh, taste 5 wines for $12, but they, you know, do you want to try anything else? They'd let you try something else. None of the tastings were expensive. The reserve tasting was $30 a person. By far the most expensive tasting, but well worth it. And we just tasted so many wines that were unbelievable. These old Rieslings and old reds and old dessert wines, just so cool. So cool. I love tasting old wine. I don't have enough experience in it, but the more I do it, the more I crave these old wines. But I mean, I'm nervous a little bit about these bottle conditions. Yes, the ones they gave us through Coravin were fantastic, were fine, showing well. No, they weren't corked. There wasn't anything wrong. They weren't oxidized. Who knows with these? The fills look good on these bottles, so just being hopeful. Get them in the right wine fridges, put them on their sides, and consume them soon. That's it. Have a good night.